Hey guys, it's Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around, we finished up the mutants. What was that one about?
Well, if I recall correctly, the Marshal, I think it was, his plans for wiping out all the mutants got overturned because, the Doctor reversed the polar. I don't know. It's something he does all the time. But instead of wiping out everybody, it kind of allowed the mutants to move up the speed of their mutations until ultimately, Kai?
Yeah.
Literally becomes this, angelic type being. He was glowing and floating in the air, and he zapped the Marshal and told everybody everything was going to be fine, and that was the end of it.
More or less, yeah. It was a very, honestly, looking back, a very complicated thing of the mutants. They were supposed to evolve, but they weren't evolving properly, and then eventually they figured out how to do it properly, and they evolved into the Technicolor rainbow dudes, yeah. And then, the Marshal was going insane because he wanted to just take control of Solas and create a new Earth under his rule, and there was an investigator, there was a whole bunch of stuff. And in the end, he did just sort of get vaporized by Supreme Kai.
And we speculated momentarily that the investigator was probably going to be the Master, but we were wrong.
Yeah. It would have been an interesting twist, but that probably would have... You probably would have needed a couple more episodes to fit him in there. So it was just a normal investigator, and it still worked for the story. So, yeah. Today we are on to The Time Monster, which is the final story of Season 9. So this is, again, 6-parter, so we'll split it up over 2 weeks. But yeah, this will be the end of Season 9. And an interesting season it has been. So we started with Day of the Daleks, which was good.
A serial about the Daleks that barely had the Daleks in it.
Yes, they were sort of like the MacGuffin of the story.
Yeah.
So, and then we had the Curse of Peladon, the Sea Devils, and then the Mutants, which were all interesting. I still kind of prefer Season 8 overall, I think, but these haven't been bad stories.
No.
So,
they're enjoyable.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much all I got. You have anything else to say?
I was just going to speculate again that it's going to be very cold here. We have one of those Oklahoma winters through, the end of December, even on Christmas Day. It was in the 80s, right? We literally had to put on our shorts and short-sleeve shirts on Christmas Day because it was so warm.
Well,
and this is Saturday. We record Saturday mornings. On Thursday and Friday of this week, yesterday and the day before, temperature was in the mid-60s. Today it's snowing, and the wind chills will be probably down in the single digits or teens.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I've got my sweater on again today is because I'm freezing.
Yeah, and I haven't turned on the overhead ceiling fan on high. I thought about that because, see, you know what it is that the heater is running. And I know this is what everyone came to this video for. The heater is running, so there's a lot of hot air in here. And I closed my door, because we're recording, nobody else needs to hear this, so I close the door. That traps all the heat in, and then cycles it through this hot computer that's not 2 feet away from me. And so that's why I've been turning on the ceiling fan when it's so cold. It's just,
and I'm on the far side of the room where there's literally no heat whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, he's in Brazil, and I'm in Antarctica.
Yeah. So it's a whole thing, but I'll go ahead and I'll leave it off just because it is that cold today.
But I finally figured something out. Your mother and I are retiring after this school year. Well, at school, because my classroom is on an outside wall and it's also very cold, I have this very small space heater. It's not like the other one that we have here in our house. But I put it near my desk to keep me warm because, I'm seriously right next to a cinder block wall that you can literally, hang meat on and it would stay cold. So after we retire from school, I'm going to bring that home, and then next winter, I'm just going to stick it right down here in front of me, and I'm going to stay warm.
All right. Well, I suppose that is the plan then. So,
means you got another year of us doing this.
Yeah. So, anywho, now that we've extended the intro by a couple extra minutes. Now let's go ahead and jump into the time monster. Here we go.
Do we know Robert Sloman?
I don't think so.
Here we go again.
Oh no. Oh, I don't have the jar ready. What am I doing? What's he doing? Oh no, it's Gozer.
Right. Blinking crystal.
Oh hey.
Welcome to your new master.
Oh, let's just start right away with it.
It shows you don't listen to a word I say, doesn't it? Now, yes, here we are. New eruptions in the Thera group of islands, somewhere off Greece.
Does it say anything about a
Santorini.
crystal?
Crystal?
Atlantis.
No, what crystal?
There was a large crystal, shaped like a trident.
Or maybe it is Atlantis.
We're left with egg on our faces.
Yes, surely, Professor. It
Now
would
look,
be
my
very
dear,
unwise.
there is no need for you to worry your pretty little head.
And there's no need for you to be so patronizing, Professor.
Ooh,
Look, just
good.
because I'm a
Meh.
woman, there's no need to treat me like...
No, I'm sorry. You're quite right, Doctor.
There was a 1960s movies about Atlantis where they used a crystal to be like nuclear power, and that's what ultimately ended up destroying the island.
There you are, Joe. The Thera group. Those little islands there.
Doctor, come and take a look.
Not that, Joe. I'm busy.
But it's the map.
By the way, huge volcanic eruption just off of Tonga last night in the Pacific Ocean.
Wow, what timing.
Well, it says Santorini in brackets. Well, that must be another name for it. How about that?
It's nice to see Yates again.
Joe, shall we? Priority Z144, I suppose. Priority A1, actually.
Actually, it's Z144, but you know.
It's Zed.
I'll throw in another coin for you, too.
I'm not sure, but in my dream I quite clearly...
There was a TV show called Zed Cars. That's the way they pronounce it. And that's why in Men in Black, the head guy is Zed and not Z.
We better be on our way to the Newton
True.
Institute. Ready, Doctor?
But they don't say bed, they say B. So,
I told you to come to observe us muted, they said.
Well, shall I go?
No, certainly not, Joe. I should leave you here with me. Tom Tit, that's what it's all about. Demonstration of Tom Tit.
Tom Tit? What on earth does that stand?
look.
Oh, it's a brilliant idea. Apparently it can break down solid objects into light waves or whatever and transmit them from one place to another.
And it works.
To teleport.
How is it that you publish nothing? That you refuse to reveal the hypothesis behind your so-called experiments? That
He's
the very
already been
name of your
discovered.
project is arrogant nonsense. Tom Tit. You will listen to me, and you will obey me. You will obey me.
I thought that only worked on the lower intelligences.
Obey.
Yeah. Maybe.
I
Do
will obey. That's better.
you think when he does that, he has a tape recorder to play his theme?
Just sit there quiet.
It's a time sensor.
Oh, I see.
Do you? Well, what's it do then?
Well, it
Census time.
detects disturbances in a time field.
Well done, Joe.
Nuh.
You're learning. It's exactly what you need if you happen to be looking for a Tardis.
It's a
Well, a
Tardis sniffer
broken
outer.
clock is right twice a day.
Madam?
Come to wash your windows. You know, window washers are brave men.
Activity nil.
Don't know what happened there.
Time slowed down, apparently.
I guess.
Doctor,
Yeah?
it's working again.
Yeah, I hate to be that guy, but could they not have come up with a better shape for that thing?
I was about to say, it's rather phallic looking, isn't it?
Yeah. That and we're dealing with the Tom Tit, like this is kind of a weird one.
Hang on tight, Joe.
Oh gosh. Whoop.
I'm getting too much power. I can't hold it. Switch off.
Turn it on, Professor! Turn it off!
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Kronos? Father of all the Greek gods?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, the Master has been summoning a lot of things recently, between demons.
Well, it would also make
aquatic
sense, though, if
dudes.
they've got the Minoan, Mycenaean civilization and Atlantis. Kronos would make perfect sense.
Well, I mean, I immediately like this more than kind of the last couple, even though the last couple were good. But just, I don't know what it is about this dynamic of the Doctor and Unit and the Master. It just, every time, despite the fact that it's technically the same thing every time, I don't know why. They've just, like, they've got this down, you know? So, yeah, just already very interesting. I am curious if this does tie into Atlantis. Are they going to bring up sort of maybe the elephant in the room of the Doctor was there when it was completely destroyed once and for all? Or was that in the future? That might have been in the future. I don't remember. So,
no, I thought it was in the present time because I thought we had speculated how this the Mad Doctor who was trying to blow up the world was somehow tied into World War II. I'm sorry, I mentioned World War II. My fault.
Yeah. It was something like that. He was like one of the German scientists, I think. And then maybe that it was still in the 60s. It was either the 60s or the 80s. I can't remember. So, yeah. It's one of them. But already it's definitely an interesting story.
Yeah.
So.
Now, here's what I don't understand. And it's minor point. Mr. Hyde, the assistant, has to wear his radiation suit in the other room.
Yeah.
But why doesn't anyone in the transmission room need it? I mean, I realize the Master put it on to hide his identity.
Yeah.
But if there's radiation in the receiving room, it stands to reason there would be radiation in the transmitting room. So, minor point.
The only thing I could think is because the crystal is in the radiation room, and I guess they don't have it in the normal room. So,
and the receiving room also has glass windows. So unless that's leaded glass, then the radiation would go straight through the wall.
Yeah, maybe that's why the guy fell off the ladder, or I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Also, immediately when they're talking about, time is a bunch of bits, and if you can slip through those bits and stuff, like, okay, this sounds like Avengers Endgame time travel of like, no, this is how it works. But it doesn't make any sense, but this is how it works, you know? But granted, there are later Doctor Who episodes where the Doctor's like, well, everybody thinks of time as, just a line, just linear, but it's not really that. It's more of a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but if I also recall, that's the theory behind the warp drive, is that it literally, instead of taking space as a linear space, it bends it. It warps time so that you can go between the areas to get to where you want to.
Yeah, that's true. So,
this is probably a very new theory back in the early 70s. I mean, this is, again, what would have been part of Star Trek and all the other science fiction stuff from this time period. As we're getting closer to Star Wars, aren't we about 72 or 73 here? And Star Wars would have been 77, so.
Yeah, I think this might be 72. So, it could be sort of like that.
So they're just basically riffing on, popular scientific theories of that time period.
Yeah. And it's also interesting, just again, the Master's summoning some sort of great creature that he's going to try to control, and it's not going to work. So, I like, though, that they just start off, just first scene, the Master, like, here, we're not going to beat around the bush, here he is. So. Jeez.
Love the look on her face.
Yeah.
Oof. Stuart's only 25.
25?
Oof.
Professor Vasculus, Tom Tit's his baby.
Vasculus?
Is that Greek for master?
Really, the arrogance of that man is beyond belief.
I don't know.
Whose arrogance?
I get it. Vasculus is Greek for master.
Right, Joe.
Wow.
He's coming round.
He always hides in plain sight. It's hilarious.
It's all right.
Kronos! Kronos? Yes, of course. I should have known.
Should you have?
Dr. Ingram.
I can only hope that we don't have to parade our dirty linen at Westminster. Not to mention gossip.
Not to mention a duck.
I told you not to mention a duck.
Sorry, Dr. Cook. I couldn't help overhearing what you said. Well, this affair is no longer in your hands, sir. Place that is no place. A dangerous place where creatures live beyond your wildest imagination. Chronivores. Time eaters. Will swallow a life as quickly as a boa constrictor can swallow a rabbit.
I think this was a Stephen King novel.
Not just danger to our world, Sergeant. Or even our galaxy. But to the entire created universe.
Jeez. This is a big episode.
Come here.
This seems a little bit too much for the Master.
Now look
Notice the shot where you can actually see the ceiling. That's very cinema verite.
Everything will be all right.
Yes. Well, I thought it would be around here somewhere.
Oh.
This, Sergeant, is the Master's Tardis.
No.
In Atlantis, of course.
Right. Meanwhile, in another movie...
What's happened to my hands?
It's all right, honestly.
You know, it's pretty good makeup, actually.
There isn't.
Give me a minute.
Lethbridge Stewart? Ah, Benton. Nothing peculiar about it, my dear fellow. Perfectly simple. I need you over here, on the double.
Has he always been able to do that?
That's the first time I think we've seen it or heard it.
I love if he can just do that.
Why would he leave the window open?
Maybe he's thinking if something happens, he can use the ladder and get up there in a hurry.
Ah, there he is.
Oh. Opened it so he can sneak around.
Oh, yeah. Good job, Benton.
The resourceful Sergeant Benton.
Shoot him!
You didn't really
Meh.
think you could fool me with a fake telephone call, did you? It's the oldest trick in the book.
I underestimated you, Sergeant.
Do people normally imitate voices
The
often?
Brigadier is not in the habit of calling sergeants my dear fellow.
You see, Sergeant Benton, the whole point is that... Doctor, what a very time... You're wrong, Sergeant Benton. That is the oldest trick in the book.
Meh.
What are you going to do?
And he probably went back when the book was written.
Somebody here. Only one thing stands between me and complete power over the Earth, over the universe itself. And the one I bring here will show me how to harness that power. Now!
Willie? So, I'm still trying to get the Atlantis thing. So I guess it's that the crystal is and was, and by using the crystal in 1972, or whenever this is, it's connecting to itself in Atlantis, bringing forth Kronos in both times, maybe?
Apparently, yes.
Because I guess there's also... I don't want to just make assumptions about what Kronos is and everything, but you would honestly think, because it's a danger to the universe. This thing can eat the entire universe, but they call it a chronivore. So does it just eat the universe in one time, or does it eat the universe throughout the entire timeline? Which may be getting a bit deeper than they originally thought. So,
well, just that it is able to consume the universe.
Yes.
It's kind of an anti-Big Bang.
Right. And the Master hopes to achieve...
He's going to have Kronos tell him how to achieve the power that he needs. And once again, forgetting that you cannot subdue a power greater than yourself.
Yeah, because why would Kronos do that? Why wouldn't he just eat the universe and be done with it? Also, why aren't the other Time Lords, like, worried about this? Like, you know what? I almost wonder if the Time Lords, because they don't interfere, they're not actually that good. Like, they have their moments and stuff like that, but they're not actually that good. So they're like, well, the Doctor's already on it. He does this stuff all the time. He's a field agent. We're the office workers, you know?
We're the guys in the chair.
Yeah, basically. So that's why they don't get involved. Because otherwise, when you look at it, it's like, well, the Time Lords, yes, they want to interfere by getting stone slabs to the Solonians so that they can evolve into these Technicolor angels, but they're not going to stop the Master from bringing forth this creature that will destroy the entire universe. Yeah. I question the Time Lords. So, I mean, honestly, I guess it's probably what the Doctor did. That's why he left, you know? So, yeah. It's a strange plan, but the Master's plans are always kind of strange and convoluted, and they don't make sense.
Now, there's still a wild card here, because we've seen the Minoan priest who called upon Kronos, and he's the one who appeared there at the end. But every time we saw him lurking behind one of the pillars, there was a younger man. So we've got to wait and find out who he is and how he figures into all of this. Yeah, so... good on Benton, though. That was probably Benton's best moment. Even though he did ultimately fail in the end. He really tried, so...
I am the Master, Lord of Time, and ruler of Kronos. You are I! No one rules Kronos! I shall...
I'll give it 5 minutes.
Is this the abode of Lord Kronos? No.
No, it's Cambridge.
It's Wooten, actually. Or Wooten.
Oh, yeah.
Only to do... For 5 centuries it has been lost to Atlantis. There was nothing handed down. Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing save the crystal and the seal of the High Priest.
So could you use this machine to go 5 centuries back?
How can Atlantean measurements mean anything to you? Comparative ratios remain constant throughout time. If you have nothing intelligent to say, do please keep quiet. Right.
Yeah, at this point, you could probably ditch this guy.
Kronos, welcome!
He's a bird.
So the pet dog does obey his master, eh? Right! You stay in your kennels and I have need of you!
Oh, that was unfortunate.
I was not expecting a bird.
What's going on? Don't worry. The Doctor will explain later.
No.
Hope.
No.
What are you doing? Reversing the interstitial flow. Now, don't interrupt
Well,
me.
that guy's having fun.
Concentrate. You have the power to control him. I shall have, never fear.
He's got him on wires, too.
Now.
I really sell it, Nick.
Right. It's safe to go
Nothing
in
in
now.
Greek mythology about a bird like that,
Priest.
as far as I remember.
Yeah.
Darius, will you have me believe you are?
Interesting how they've kind of soft focused this.
Well,
So it looks completely different from the sharp focused laboratory.
well.
Now, notice the statue of the maiden there. They had to clean that up for British television.
Meh.
The real statues from that time, the woman would have been bare-breasted.
Well.
The guardian is a person no longer. A thing. A creature. Too horrible to imagine. Half man, half beast. Come.
Oh, it's the Minotaur.
Must be.
So you know, I was kind of thinking like, oh, well, the Master can get by security guards. Maybe not the Minotaur.
Doctor, what's happening?
A great deal. For instance, you, Brigadier. You were caught in a hiatus in time.
Yep,
Being
those are
without
words.
becoming.
Well, if that doesn't look like nonsense.
Not so good. Now then, here goes. Oh dear,
What's up?
it doesn't work.
You astound me.
Bad luck, Doc.
Tea leaves.
It's incredible that thing's holding up.
I give you my phone.
What does it do? I mean, how does it actually affect the Master's plans?
Well, it's just like jamming a radio signal, Joe. used to make them at school to spoil each other's time experiments.
I don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
Well, keep driving.
Bloody hell.
You're fine.
Greyhound 3, we're stuck in the mud.
Oh, come on,
Pulled
man.
off the road by some goon in fancy dress. Hey! What do you think you're up to? Get down! Every idiot means it.
British Civil War.
Greyhound, another hallucination, sir. Roundheads attacking us with full ammunition.
Roundheads.
If the master shows his face, you know what to do.
Yes, sir.
Can I come, Brigadier?
Get my ass kicked. Got it.
A bit of a cavalier. Too far behind.
Oh, buddy. You don't know what kind of garbage he's been putting into that car. Boy, the handling on this car is great.
Yeah, the Roundheads have single-shot muskets.
Would have been hilarious if he brought back the Highlanders, and then Jamie showed up.
But here comes the grand finale.
Oh no.
A V2. Or a V1. I think it's a V2. German rockets from right at the end of the war.
Doctor, something wrong with the engine.
And when it stops,
Oh, yes, it can.
everybody runs because that means it's
Based
dropping.
in time, but that's real enough. That's a V1.
Oof.
Yates. Yates, can you hear me? Yates, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Over!
Well, the TARDIS will be
Mike,
fine.
can you hear me?
Alrighty. And that's part 3.
Well, it is not a convoluted plot, but it is very interesting. It's very complex. It's
Yeah.
easy to follow. And again, one of the better stories that we've seen this season.
Yeah, so there's just something about these master stories, you know? So,
and again, the writer, I don't think it's somebody we've seen before, but he's obviously dialed into everything that's been happening.
yeah, so. Alrighty, well, the first thing I wrote down was the nightmare that the Doctor had, which was kind of weird, but very, very interesting, his nightmare about the Master. So, and yeah, it's just sort of interesting. I guess maybe that could be sort of sensing him or something like that. And it's also interesting, it kind of mirrors, what was it, the Mind of Evil, when they showed the Master's greatest fear and it was the Doctor laughing over him. This was kind of the reverse. So, I like that. You know, I was kind of thinking with Ruth, Dr. Ingram, I was almost wondering if maybe they originally meant that to be Liz instead. And because they mention, I guess this place is like close to Cambridge. I know they said that at one point. Yeah. So I'm almost wondering if that was the original idea, was for this to be, because Liz never met the Master, so it's entirely possible.
Yeah. Now, my knowledge of British geography is not incredible. I've been to Cambridge. We went to a field trip there. I think Wooton, or as they called it, Wooton, is actually a considerable way away. I mean, probably 50 miles or so. It's not. I mean, certainly not right next to it.
Well, yeah.
Because we lived in that area between Ely and Cambridge, and Bury St Edmunds and Thetford. I mean, that's where the whole Mildenhall, Lakenheath, Herringswell place where we live. And Cambridge was to the west of that. And again, it's been 50 years, so maybe my knowledge isn't that solid. But yeah, when they said Cambridge, I thought this would be taking place at Cambridge University.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, even though it's not Liz, she definitely feels a lot like Liz.
Yeah.
So, And honestly, it is again one of those things where it's like if we didn't know, that I'm pretty sure Joe continues into the next season, and then eventually we end up with Sarah Jane. Honestly, she'd be a really great companion. Yeah. So,
well, actually, both of them would.
Yeah.
Was it Stewart?
Yeah.
The young man. Again, because although he's got some scientific background, he seems just like an ordinary bloke. Just along for the ride going, oh, this is kind of fun. Kind of like Jamie would have been, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And since this is the last series of the season, it would make sense that it might be a transition. So, but you're right. I think Joe does survive into the next season.
Right. Because the next story after this is the Three Doctors. And I definitely remember her being in that one. Yeah. So, but yeah, just that moment where she calls out the master and is like, don't patronize me. It's like, that was a good moment. So I like that. Well, and also just the fact that she is Dr. Ingram is nice, because that was the thing you brought up with Liz is like, wouldn't it be Dr. Shaw, not Miss Shaw?
Yeah.
So, so that was interesting. So we've got our machine, the Tomtit, which you just can't say that seriously. Now maybe in the 1970s in Britain it's different, but sitting here in the United States in 2022,
well, even one of the authorities said that it was kind of an awful name for this project.
Yeah. So, it's just a very strange. And what did it stand for? All I remember is the interstitial time.
Yeah. It's something for transporting organic matter through interstitial time.
Yeah. So, the Tomtit. Yeah. It just doesn't work. And maybe, I don't know. Let us know in the comments if you're as immature as we are about this. So, which, we also looked at the time sensor, and we were like, it's a little suspicious there. So,
well, there's another one, something that the master said that I won't repeat here because it's, again, it is something that here we are, 50 years on, and people would look at that, especially connected to the other two, and go, oh, that was horribly inappropriate for him to say, but I'll not say it.
All right. So, so let's see. They never really went back to the window cleaner that fell off. So I guess he survived because time slowed down. Yeah. But that doesn't quite make sense, because even if time slowed down, time still slowed down for him, which means the impact should have been exactly the same, shouldn't it?
Well, no, I think the idea is because when you fall, and again, I don't know my science well enough, there's something called terminal velocity, that you reach a certain speed that you can't go any faster. But if he were to literally float to the ground, the impact would be much less. That's the theory, I think, that what they were trying to say.
Yeah.
Again, trying to show that time does slow down, and that's why he survived. And again, you're right. It does seem a little odd, but I think it's credible within what else we've seen with, Dr. Ingram and the Brigadier also running very slowly.
Yeah. So, let's see. Well, the one thing that's not affected by this time slowing down, or isn't being slowed down whatsoever, is Bessie. Now that he has, the little red button to go faster. I like, though, that they kind of thought it through a bit more, that it's not just, it goes really fast, but also it's specifically designed, and he has, his reflexes are much faster, so he can turn it on a dime, and it doesn't just, go flying off somewhere. Yeah. So it can make that turn, and when it stops, it even stops just so quickly to where even it stops their inertia, so they don't go flying through.
Now, again, that is something that I know Star Trek was using. I think they call it the inertial dampeners, because when they come out of warp speed, obviously if they dropped out of warp speed into regular speed, that would basically toss everybody into the front of the ship.
Right.
So it is something that allows the interior of the ship to remain constant, even though the outside of the ship is slowing from again, a very incredible speed down to a regular speed.
Yeah. So it's just nice that they thought that through. It's not just, oh, his car is really fast now. So, now granted, part of that is also because they obviously didn't make that car faster. They're just filming it normally and then speeding up the footage.
Yeah.
So when he comes to a stop, he's coming to a normal stop, but it's just that the footage is sped up.
Yeah.
But they explain it away, you know?
Yeah.
They have one line of dialogue that explains it, you know?
Why? That's something we've been asking for 8 seasons now.
Yeah, so let's see. So, Kronos.
Or Kronos.
Kronos.
And that's another thing.
Yeah.
You know, our pronunciation and British pronunciation. Because we would say Kronos or Kronos, but not Kronos. You know, it's the same letter, but 2 different pronunciations. Let's not get into that, but yes. That's very, very British.
Now, it's interesting because the whole thing with, like, okay, so it's supposed to specifically be he's the Titan that ate his children and stuff like that. But it feels like they're also trying to tie it into the Greek god of time. Correct me if I'm wrong, those are 2 separate things, right?
I don't know.
I think they are.
Because our word chronology, which means the study of time, comes from the Greek god Kronos.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it is that I think they are 2 separate things, one with a K, one with a CH, but they kind of get lumped together often. And I think actually in Rome, when they stole all the gods and changed their names for copyright, they basically just combined the 2 Cronoses together into Saturn, basically. Yeah. So technically, I guess that's kind of what they're going on. And it's like, oh yes, so he's like, you know, the one with the CH because he deals with time, but he's like the one with the K because, you know, instead of, you know, the legend where he, you know, eats his children, it's that he eats the universe. Which again, I'm pretty sure is a Stephen King novel. I think, was it like the Langoliers or something like that? It's not one of the Stephen King novels you immediately think of when you think of his work, but I think that was it. I watched a video on it. It's like completely ridiculous, where it's people that are trapped outside of time, and basically as time keeps moving forward, I think this is so weird that the previous time is eaten by these little acorn 3-mouthed dudes. So don't get caught back there. Stay in the present, or something ridiculous like that.
I've heard the name, the Langoliers, but I never knew what it was.
I think that's it. It's one of those weird Stephen King ones. You know, it's not The Shining or, you know, other stuff like that. It's the ones where he got kind of weird, but yeah, that's kind of what we've got going on with Kronos. So yeah, and the Master wants something out of it. The power to rule over the universe.
The power to, it has something to do with time. So it is something that Kronos can teach him, even though he doesn't need Kronos himself to do it.
Yes, which I guess is sort of like the demons, where, you know, he summons Azal to give him this great power to rule, and then obviously it just doesn't work out. So I guess it's sort of like that, although credit to Azal, he could speak English or anything. He wasn't just this crazy Birdman that they locked in a room.
Now, one thing about that. The first time the Birdman appeared, it was, again, very Hitchcockian, very Spielbergian, in that you never actually got to see all of him at once. And that is much more effective, because when they showed him full body length and it's just, you know, a guy in a leotard flapping with a bucket on his head, that is much less effective. Right. So they should have never actually shown him full, because that way you look at it and go, I believed it right up until the point where I saw him in his full costume.
Yeah, well, and also just the fact that they overexpose him too, so that it's, you know, very, very bright and everything. So yeah, if you had done that, kept him more like, oh, we really can't look at him because he's too bright, and you sort of keep him off screen, that could have worked a bit more. But then when they're like doing something and he's just in the background in the other room, just sort of flapping about and stuff, it doesn't quite work. And the fact that they actually hooked the dude up so he could actually kind of fly around the room, good on them that they can do that. But it was a little much, you know? So I don't really feel the threat of this dude's gonna eat the universe or something like that. It's like, really, this bird guy? I don't know, bring in Colonel Sanders, we can beat this guy. I don't know. So but yeah, so that it's an interesting idea, and I guess this is the Master sort of being a bit more ambitious, because you've always had the question of, why does the Master do this? What is his goal? And it's normally been to, subjugate the Earth or destroy the human race in order to hurt the Doctor. This one is very more classic of, he's just going to take over the universe, basically. Yeah. Again, why the Time Lords don't pop in and say something about this, I don't know. Not that I'm saying they would be help at all. I'm sure the Doctor would still have to do everything, even if the Time Lords showed up. But the fact that they're just not here seems a bit odd. This also slightly calls into question something from very recently in modern Doctor Who, actually kind of the latest season that they had, where they have this whole thing where there's this secret organization that's higher than Gallifrey that actually interferes with the universe and stuff. It's this whole big thing. It does sort of call into question. It's like, well, where were they when the Master does everything that the Master does? But yeah, I don't know. Not that I think, for anyone who's seen that stuff, not that I think, again, they would be any help. The Doctor would still have to defeat the Master. I'm just curious now. So, nobody start a flame war about modern Doctor Who in the comments. So, I'll put in a couple more just because I brought that up. There we go. Let's see. We had Benton's greatest moment in this episode. So,
yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I do like that he figured out that it's like, no, this seems weird that the Brigadier would want me to leave my post and leave this place unguarded. And then, the whole thing of, the Brigadier is not in the habit of calling his soldiers my dear fellow. So, the Doctor has said that on multiple occasions. I can recall that, but yeah, that was good. And him getting back in there, it didn't last. He did ultimately, get tricked and get knocked out, but it was good. It was a really good Benton moment. So, let's see. We've got Crassus, the Atlantean priest, which is interesting. I'm not sure why the Master quite needs him. I mean, I guess he kind of needed him for the crest or whatever, so that he could
that medallion, I guess.
So that he could figure out the math of all of this. I like actually that they're really showing it's not just the Master has a plan and here it is going into effect, but the Master is constantly checking the numbers and everything. So I actually like that. But yeah, now that he's got that, I'm not quite sure what he needs Crassus for. So,
well, yeah. Again, now that they're going back to Atlantis, perhaps he, it just needs him to figure out everything that he already knows everything now that he needs to know. But perhaps if he goes back and talks to the old king, what was his name, Dalios?
Yeah,
that he might be able to figure out everything that he needed then to complete his plan. Yeah,
it's possible. Dalios, who is over 500 years old somehow, but he is one of the guards of the crystal, and he did a bang up job of that, of letting this priest take, although I guess that wasn't the crystal, that was just part of it. So the rest of the crystal is being guarded by, I'm just gonna say, shot in the dark, the Minotaur. So,
well, that is the legendary half man, half beast. The only other thing would be a centaur.
Yeah,
and not particularly known for being, as far as I remember, overly aggressive towards humans.
Yeah, so...
Besides, you could probably, trick them with an apple,
Yeah, so... I will be very curious if they have the budget for a Minotaur. Have they had a Minotaur yet? I almost feel like that's been brought up. Because we had Azal, but he was more...
Yeah, he was the satyr, the half-man, half-goat.
Right.
When they went back to Troy, they didn't have the Minotaur in that.
Yeah.
And that's the only time they've been back to ancient Greece, if I recall.
Yeah, the only other thing I could think is... what was it? The Mind Robber with all the fictional characters.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only other thing I could think, but I don't... Was that... Yeah, there was something, wasn't there? I don't think... I think there was a Minotaur, but they never showed it.
Yeah.
I think it was like the Doctor and Zoe, they were like going through these tunnels, and there was a Minotaur, but he was always off screen. We never saw him. So I think it's... If that is true, then I'm going to count that as being incredible that I actually remembered that. Yeah. So yeah. We had the Doctor's weird little device, the jammer, the amalgamation of a bunch of crap that he made, and I like how he says, we used to make these all the time to jam each other's time projects at the Academy or whatever. So that was funny.
Yeah.
And I like too that the Master immediately figures it out, and he's like, I know exactly what he's doing. He scrounged together a bunch of garbage, and he's trying to block me. So, and then we had all the historical things trying to take out Yates, which was funny. So, and yeah, it's always hilarious because, especially with UNIT, they're so military, so standard sort of characters. So whenever they have these really goofy things happen to them, it is really funny. Like, when this knight just goes right through and then Yates gets out. I like how you were just like, bloody hell. It's like, it's just such a weird thing for these people to encounter, But yeah, so we had the knight, what was it? The
Roundheads from the British Civil War.
Right, and then the V1. So...
And I would have sworn that V2 was the one that did the pop, pop, pop sound, but apparently not.
Yeah. So yeah, that was interesting. And then, yeah, perhaps Yates is dead. He's probably not dead, but, could be injured a bit. But, I mean, as we established this season, the Tardis is okay. So we know the Tardis is okay.
Yeah.
So there's at least that.
It makes me wonder when the Master gets into his Tardis, which is disguised as a computer bank, will they just open up the front of it and step in, or will it change its appearance before they go into it?
I think there was one shot where he actually came out of it and it was still the computer bank. So I think it will just stay like that right up to the point that he leaves. So, but it is nice to see when they just sort of look over and it's like, wait a second, that is his Tardis right there. It's like, oh yeah, a functioning chameleon circuit. What a concept. So, I guess the only other thing we didn't mention was Stuart being aged by 80 years, which was interesting. Now, I wonder, his hair and his mustache, I noted that specifically. I thought about that when he first showed up because I was like, man, that is such a 70s look for him to have. I almost wonder now, though, if that was fake so that they could put on, because it was convincing makeup, honestly. Yeah. So to put on the same kind of wig and mustache, just now completely white. So, and I'm trying to think, wasn't it at the end of the Daleks' master plan that there was some sort of aging thing?
The lady who was that just for the Daleks?
Just for the Daleks' master plan.
Yeah, one of the ladies aged so much that she actually crumbled to dust.
Yeah.
They thought that she was going to be a companion, and then she was only there for like 2 or 3 episodes.
Right, yeah. And I think the Doctor started to age too, but then he got out of it.
Yeah, he managed to crawl back into the TARDIS and get out of it.
Yeah. I think that was when we started taking note of all the physical problems the first Doctor went through before he regenerated. So, because there was like a number of things that that happened to him before he actually gave out. So, yeah, that was kind of familiar. But yeah, very good makeup on Stewart there. So, that's pretty much it. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, then, next time we will finish up the Time Monster, which I guess makes sense that that's Kronos. The Time Monster, be sure to fry him up good and don't eat the bones and, whatever other fried chicken joke I can create in these last 10 seconds that we're talking. So, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So, with all those stupid jokes out of the way, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around to any of those. There's a playlist for all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as another playlist for a different Doctor Who series that we have on the channel. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.